Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And the third anniversary has officially begun with the release of not one, but two brand new banners. Part 2, quote unquote, technically, is the Awakened Isis and Mirror Realm Benimaru Kyokyo. And then the Part 1 banner is this new Milim and Guy. So we have four brand new characters, but when you log in, you will be greeted with this beautiful screen that gives you 100 tickets for the Isis and Kyokyo banner, Benimaru banner. That is halfway to pity. Every single player who logs in during this time period will get halfway to pity on this banner. 10 free multis, and that is just the bee's knees, all right? On top of that, if you go to the code and you enter code and you do third tensura, and enter that, you will get another 10 tickets, which are not the same, but they're tickets that have the ability to pull ice or the new Isis right here. It'd be these bitch tickets, but you can see they're also featured on this banner as well. So there are two different locations that you can pull them on, alongside some of the other 5-star banners. But are they worth it? Well, obviously, since you're getting 100 free tickets, yeah, do that for Isis and Benimaru because it's free. And if you're going to re-roll, this is the best way to do it, is to use those 100 free tickets, try and get both the new characters, and then start making a team based on that. And if you don't get them, just re-roll, delete the game data, do it over and over again until you get both of them. But let's very quickly go over, because we got 4 units to talk about instead of 2 normally. So, the new Isis is an Unbound EX, which is the new rarity. You can see they have a different border, they have different powers, their stats are quite a bit higher. She's on Antagonist, Schemer, and Dragon Akai. She has the support alt now, so it's fairly weak, 250%, but when she ults, she gives every antagonist character on both the front and back line a permanent 60% weakness strike buff. And if you do an EX ult, it is 120% weakness strike at max level, like fully duped out. I think it's normally I think for level 100 0 dupes, it's 100%, but still, so it's 50 and 100. It's permanent, and it's for ulting. So you're going to help your other teammates that are antagonist do more damage. This Isis and this Benimaru are the second part of the antagonist meta, which started with Emils and Shinsha. So they are the follow-up. They're the final 2 characters for the antagonist meta. That's what they're there for. They're meant to support Shinsha and Emils. Her skills. So her first skill, magic resistance down, and within the first 5 turns of the fight, if you use the skill, it's 120% ult resistance down as well, on top of the magic, which I think it caps out at 30%. So this is level 1 skill. At level 10, it's 30% magic down and still 120 ult resistance down. That is insanely powerful. Her second skill applies the Drago effect to all magic allies, which is a 20% increase to any buff that is attached to a character. So an attack buff, a magic buff, a element buff, a pierce power, crit power, synergy power buff. It's all increased by 20% for any magic ally. And then she gives pierce power, which goes up to 30%, which, because it's a buff placed on an ally, it will be increased by Drago, and it'll be 36% or something like that. The Unbound feature is what part of the new rarity, and it's a conditional extra damage buff within a certain set of turns based on them being a speed, which is a burst team, a charge or stacking team, or a defense team. Since this is a speed team, between turns 3, 4, and 5, you get extra weak point and super weak point damage. So it just helps you do even more power. Her Valor trait nerfs blue gauges, whatever, and then her actual trait is skill points every 2 turns, which is pretty good. It's not the best one, but it's still pretty good. The Unbound Dark Benimaru Kyokyo is roughly the same. He's on antagonist Ogre's Pride Warrior's Mind. His alt acts the same way. So Isis was a single target. Kyokyo is an AoE, but it still gives antagonist forces 60% permanent weakness strike if you ult with him, and then if it's an EX, it gives 120%, so it acts the same way. It's still a support buff, as denoted by support right here. But it works the same way as what Isis does. His first skill, a magic attack buff, and then within the first 5 turns, the allies get 80% weakness strike. This buff is not super impressive, and it does not outpace Violet's just pure 100% magic buff. I'll tell you that right now. So, I'm not super big fan of this skill, but it is a buff, and if you're just starting out and you don't have Violet, well, I mean, he's going to be your next best support. His other skill gives you the vitalization, which is not a word that you hear very often. It was attached to the Space Rammers Protector, and it's free alt gauge at the end of every turn. Just like how the Enamor skill works, where it's like 15% free alt gauge that Elmesia has, or the free-to-play Space Sufia. It's that, but it's a different name, so it would work on top of those Enamor effects. So you get 25% free alt gauge for the first 3 turns, and then you get a 15% orange damage buff. I honestly think that out of all 3 characters, he is the least impressive character, because he's meant to be running an orange team that doesn't struggle with alt gauge. So why are we needing more alt gauge? I don't have an answer to that question. But his Unbound still is for Dark plus attribute, so still within 3, 4, and 5 turns, still the same additional multiplier. His Valor trait seals magic skills, which is good. That's one of the best skills in Valor Cup. And then his actual trait, if you have a 6 combo of oranges, it buffs his own Pierce power, which is not a super good power. So it is what it is. And then we have Hinata and Violet and Warrior's Mind Rimuru as the only other featured EX characters. So their banner is actually not the same as Emil's and Shinsha, because they have Exalted Champions, and they have Warrior's Mind Guy and Violet, or Lumi here. Not the same set of featured characters, which is quite unfortunate. But I kind of understand, because they gave us literally half a pity for free. So they can't make the banner super duper exciting. But that's what they do. Let's move on to the new Milim and Beni, or Milim and Guy, and they lead an entirely different team. Guy is a new protector, and he has nothing to do with the antagonist meta, which is quite confusing. But based on the information that we've seen over today, I do think that this is just like a one-off banner. I do not think that Octagram Demon Lord is going to be the banner that comes out in 11 days on the 28th of October. No. I think that is going to be its own separate team with its triple featured unit banner, and this is just kind of weird. But what do they do? Excellent question. Milim is an attack character. She's on Octagram Demon Lord, Dragon Akai, and Exalted Champions. Her ult is an attack unbound ult. All 4 of these characters are unbound characters. So she, at max level, has a 600% normal ult. And then, if an EX ult is 900, this is 90% higher than any other EX single target character we've had thus far. 90% more damage. Her skills. First skill costs nothing. It's 0 points at level 10. And it's guaranteed pierce and guaranteed synergy for 3 turns. That's it. There's no pierce power, there's no synergy power. It's just you've pierce rate and synergy rate. Whoop-de-doo. Her second skill, much more interesting. It's 35 points at level 10, and if you have an entire front line of Octagram Demon Lord, you could convert every single orb into rainbows. Twice. This is the first battle character where we could use a rainbow skill more than one time in a fight. So this is very, very impactful. Rainbow orbs, if you don't know, give you the maximum amount of gauge that a blue and a green and an orange would give, just rolled up into one. So you get a lot of points, you get a lot of alt gauge, you get a lot of protection gauge, just for one orb, and not specifically one color. Makes them very, very powerful. And the fact you can do it twice pretty much guarantees you EX alts everywhere. And then on top of that, she does up to a 15% extra damage buff for these orbs, which is cool, sure, whatever. She's very utility. I wouldn't really use her to be a DPS because there's no inherent power here, but I would use her on an Octagram team or close to an Octagram team and use her for 2 turns of rainbow orbs. Certainly would do that. Her unbound status, she's also a burst speed unit, so she gets extra damage turns 3, 4, and 5. Her Valor trait nerfs oranges, whoop-de-doo. Her actual trait gives you protection gauge every 3 turns, which is very impactful. This is a good trait. And then we've got the first unbound protector, EX Protector, which is Guy. So he's got decent stats. They all have higher stats than normal. And he increases the amount of Octagram Demon Lord damage versus light to 120% at max level. A max level old EX character would do 60%. So he is doubling the amount of just passive damage that you do against your specific enemy. And then still gives 25% attack and defense to the stats. And he's a burst character, so he gives 30% extra skill points for the first 4 turns, just like every other protector like Velzard and Trainee and New Year's Blessing Xion. The same kind of thing there, with a free 30 points. His actual skill applies Lord's Ambition, which is the skill that Commander Diablo had, and that prevents people from being able to be attack nerfed or defense nerfed or whatever. And at the end of the turn, puts a 10% stack of weakness resistance on the enemy. And since it applies to everybody, this Lord's Ambition, you have 3 characters that have this, each one will do 10%. So in a perfect setting, you will have 30% extra weakness strike down on the enemy at the end of your turn, which is cool. And then he also lowers all targets' attribute resistance by 100%. This is the all element debuff, which is not super powerful. We know this just based on pure damage testing and science. It's not that big of a debuff. It's not as big as you would hope it would be for a 100% debuff. And then on top of that, he changes all blues and all oranges into greens. So he's kind of like a poor man's Exalted Champion Velzard, but still out damages her because of, well, maybe not out damages, but he gives more damage to the team against light enemies. And that, that's about it. His Valor trait is the same thing that they've always had, and his actual trait gets extra defense with 75% or more HP. You don't need dupes for him. So there is the explanation of the 4 brand new characters. And now comes the question, what do I do? Do I summon on them? You do not summon on Guy and Milim. Straight up. They're a one-off banner. They don't make any sense. I feel like this is built for newer players that don't know what they're doing because they don't know what banners are good. There's a lot of guys. There's a lot of Milims. There's a lot of Rimarus. There's a lot of Lumis on Octagram Demon Lords. So it's like you would look at that and be like, oh yeah, this is a good team. They're only good for Heroes Jubilee that's going on right now, and one fight at that. And after this 10 days is up, 11 days, they are 99% probably not going to be relevant. So do not waste your crystals on Guy and Milim. They will be featured on other banners moving forward, because every character moving forward is going to be an unbound unit. And then for Isis and Dark Benimaru, Mirror Benimaru, I would just use these free tickets. I would just use them. I would do the free tickets you got from the code and do the bitch ticket summons over here and whatever tickets you have, and maybe you pull them off of these tickets that you have saved up. Who knows? There are multiple places to pull them, but only do the tickets. Do not spend crystals on this banner either, because we know that every unit coming out of past this meta is going to be an unbound unit. So the antagonist meta is half unbound and half not. So it's already at a disadvantage. And the banner that we get on the 28th is probably going to be triple featured units. All 3 of them are going to be unbound characters. It's going to be the focus for the next month in November. This team is going to be the focus for the next 10 days. And then it's going to fall off to obscurity because orange is the game doesn't like. So no, don't spend crystals on either of these banners. Now, if you're like, but Joker, I have a spending problem. What do? I got an itch. Well, then scratch that itch. Whatever you want to do. But these banners are here until November 26th. Both of them. Like, they're not going anywhere for a long time. They will still be here when the end of the next meta starts. So the 28th, 10 days away, is 10/28. This stays until 11/26. So you're still going to have a month. So if you like Isis and Benimaru and you like Guy and Milim, but you're maybe not totally 120% sold, at the bare minimum, I would say wait until the 28th. See what the live stream gives us. See what the new units do. and then you can make an informed decision. Do I want to summon on what comes out here? Do I want to summon here? Do I want to summon on this banner? Information is your weapon right now, and it is the only thing saving you and your crystals. Okay? So please, use your free tickets, go ham on those 10 multis, don't pull on Guy and Milim. They don't serve really any true purpose right stat now that I've found. And these characters are support units for Shinsha and Emils. Right? If you don't have Shinsha and Emils, these two are drastically reduced in power. All right? That's the thing, is that you can pull both of them on those free tickets, and congratulations. You won the free tickets, but you don't have a protector to put them under. And you don't have a true DPS for them to support, so you have half a team. Congratulations. You have the two least useful characters, because this is the DPS and this is the protector, who matter quite a bit. Okay? So at bare minimum, please hold off on using any crystals until the 28th of October, 11 days away, and see what the next live stream has. The next live stream, by the way, do I have it? Is going to have, does it show here? It's going to have Elmesia and Great Sage Raphael's voice actresses. And we know that these voice actresses don't just show up for funsy onesies. They are here for a reason. So you can bet your sweet ass that Elmesia and Great Sage Raphael are probably going to be on the banner on the 28th in 11 days from now. Which obviously they're not antagonists, and they're not Octagram Demon Lords either. So they have nothing to do with whatever meta's coming. And if you need even more reason for that, let's check out Milim right here. Octagram Demon Lord, Dragon Isekai Exalted Champion. But on the Global Diary, she has an extra force, which is not in the game yet. We don't know what this is. So it probably begs the question, is this the next force? Is this gold with some long hair and a star and a spear? I'd say 80% yes. This is probably a mistake, and they're teasing us, or they accidentally teased us. This is probably going to be the next meta, and it's not Octagram Demon Lord. It's not antagonist. So please, be smart, save your crystals. But if you summoned on Guy and Milim, let me know how it went. How did your ticket summons go for Beni, Maru, and Izis? Let me know. But that's it from me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.